What if Marcus Freeman and Notre Dame win the national championship Monday night? I think that a lot of folks have already forgotten how this started. What do you mean, Josh? You mean when they beat A&M? No, I don't mean that. Oh, you mean when they lost to Northern Illinois? No, I don't mean that. I mean when Brian Kelly left. Follow me here. I may not be going where you think I'm going. Brian Kelly left. What do you remember? What do you guys remember? Notre Dame fans will remember, but most non-Irish, just college football fans, what do you remember about Marcus Freeman? Most of you remember that he was on the staff, and then they elevated him. They promoted from within. Marcus Freeman's the new head coach. But what happened next? I'll tell you what happened next, because it's kind of a distant memory now. It's been memory hold for a lot of people. They lost their bowl game, I think, to Oklahoma State. He's 0-1, but that's okay because it wasn't really his team, right? Then they go through spring, then they go through summer, and then they get to fall. His first full year as a head coach, they lose right out of the gate. Played a high-level opponent. I can't remember who it was. But then they played Marshall the next week, and they lost that one. And there was Marcus Freeman, 0-3 as a head coach. Is he ever going to win a game at Notre Dame? Now, eventually he did. I think they beat Cal the next week, if memory serves. But that week felt like an eternity. I remember on this show, that week felt like an eternity, and there were a lot of people questioning Marcus Freeman. It's crazy because it was the same group of people that praised his hiring or his being named head coach. And I remember on the show saying, could you possibly have been that right and then this wrong over the span of 3 games? Or could we maybe need to let this play out a little bit? So we let it play out. Okay, so there were some ups, there were some downs. As recently as earlier this year, he's had some losses as a double-digit favorite at home to teams, most recently, Northern Illinois, of course. So we will have watched that, but then we will have watched him win a national championship in this scenario. So it would be chapter 1 of the new era of college football, which is teaching us very quickly, do not view losses the same way. Losses now are a roadblock. They're not an end of the road. They're not a stop sign. It's not the edge of a cliff. Some people like that. Some people don't. Doesn't matter if you don't like it. It is the way it is now. It's that way for Ohio State post-Michigan. It's that way for Notre Dame post-Northern Illinois. But since it is that way, you got opportunities for stories like this every year. And he will have written one of the best in quite a while. But I also want you to think about this. Now, ignore what the whole structure of the postseason is for a second. Like, there's a much bigger topic that I just thought of here. I didn't really write it down, but we kind of need to address this. So Notre Dame was a big deal for a long time. Notre Dame is a big deal. They never stopped being a big deal. But if you talk to your dad or your grandpa, Notre Dame meant something different to them than Notre Dame has meant to you, probably if you're 25 years old, let's say. If you're 25 years old, Notre Dame has meant something different in your lifetime than they meant to your dad and than they meant to his dad. Because to your grandfather and your father, Notre Dame was a national powerhouse. The national championship picture always ran through Notre Dame. It always included Notre Dame. It hasn't been like that in your lifetime. There have been some times where Notre Dame's been on the radar, but every time they were on the radar, there was an Alabama at the end of the tunnel. The light at the end of the tunnel was a freight train. They got smashed, and then they faced Clemson in the playoff, and they got handled. And you've never really known Notre Dame to be a factor in the national championship picture by and large. If they win Monday night, you need to understand what will have happened. It's much bigger than Marcus Freeman. Marcus Freeman will be the face of the guy that totally re-engineered Notre Dame football. Because Notre Dame football for a long time was a powerhouse. But then in my lifetime, to be honest with you, what I was taught and then what I started to think is college football had evolved beyond Notre Dame. Not that they had stopped mattering. Quite the opposite. They'll always matter. That golden helmet will always mean something. But I mean, college football, the way it is today, had evolved beyond the point of Notre Dame being a real factor in it. They still got the NBC deal. Like, there's still brand equity there, but they're not really going to factor in like they used to. If they win Monday night, all that gets wadded up and thrown in the garbage. And I, quite honestly, did not see that coming. Conceptually, I didn't see that coming. And I don't think a lot of other people did either. They may lie to you and tell you otherwise, but anyone who knew or who tells you they knew the day Marcus Freeman got elevated to this spot, that he'd be the one to do it. Even as he started 0-3 as a head coach, I think they'd be lying to you if they told you that. If they're not lying, hats off. You got the ability to see around corners that none of the rest of us have the ability to see around. Things have changed since the last time they won a national championship, which was 1988. That's like Dodgers won the World Series that year, I think. So the baseball metaphors just continue. I don't know what's happening. It's not planned. I really don't know what's happening. I had the staff compile a list of things that have happened since the last time Notre Dame won a national championship. The Berlin Wall was still standing the last time they won a title. Do you understand that? Who Framed Roger Rabbit was the highest grossing movie that year. Kenny Dillingham, current head coach of Arizona State, defending Big 12 champ, had not been born the last time Notre Dame won a national championship. Rudy, which is grainy and the picture quality suspect, and you watch it now and it's this relic of a film, was made 5 years after Notre Dame won their last national championship. So point being, if Marcus Freeman and the Irish win Monday night, they will have made history. In many, many different ways, they will have made history.